There was a time when Taylor Swift's Girl Squad felt unavoidable. Like if you opened Instagram, turned on the TV, or blinked too slowly, you'd somehow miss another photo of Taylor, surrounded by supermodels, pop stars, and actresses who all looked like they stepped out of the same glossy dream. But then, almost overnight, the squad vanished. No announcement, no breakup statement, no dramatic unfollow spree, just silence. And that's what made people start asking questions. Because when something that big disappears that quietly, it usually isn't an accident. So what really happened to Taylor Swift's Girl Squad? And was it ever just about friendship in the first place? Back in 2014, Taylor Swift was at a crossroads. Her career was thriving, but her public image wasn't. The media had spent years painting her as boy-obsessed, overly emotional, and incapable of keeping a relationship alive longer than a chart cycle. Every new boyfriend became a punchline. Every breakup turned into a headline, and every song was framed as evidence against her. So when Taylor pivoted into the 1989 era, she didn't just change her sound, she changed the story. Suddenly, men weren't the center of the narrative anymore. Women were. Friendship was, feminism was, and right on cue, the Girl Squad appeared. Allegedly, this wasn't random, it was perfectly timed. Feminism was becoming socially acceptable in mainstream media, social platforms rewarded highly aesthetic group content, and Taylor needed a visual way to show the world she wasn't alone, bitter, or boy crazy. She was surrounded, supported, thriving. But here's where things get interesting. Despite what the internet seems to think, not everyone Taylor smiled at was actually in the squad. Wiki pages tried to rewrite history, listing everyone from Nicki Minaj to Jennifer Lawrence to men who very clearly did not belong there. In reality, the squad fell into very specific categories. There were Taylor's real, non-famous friends who kept her grounded, like Abigail Anderson, people who had known her long before fame distorted everything. Then there were the long-term famous friendships, especially Selena Gomez, who wasn't just a squad member but emotionally central to Taylor's life. And then there was the third category, the one that raised eyebrows. The rapid recruits, models, it girls, pop-adjacent celebrities who appeared suddenly, traveled together, showed up at the same events, and then sometimes disappeared just as fast. Many of these friendships allegedly formed backstage at industry events, award shows, or fashion shows, particularly Victoria's Secret, which became something like a recruitment pipeline. And while the friendships were real, Taylor has always been clear about one thing. She genuinely cared about these women, but two things can be true at the same time. These friendships existed, and they were also curated. The Girl Squad wasn't just a friend group. It was content. 4th of July parties became photo shoots. Award shows became squad appearances. Even Taylor's music started reflecting it, culminating in Bad Blood, a music video that didn't just feature her friends, but weaponized them. Allegedly, this was the moment everything shifted. What could have been read as playful empowerment started to look like something else entirely. The video framed Taylor as the wronged hero, surrounded by loyal women, all training to fight an unnamed enemy that many believed symbolized Katy Perry. And even if that wasn't Taylor's intention, the optics mattered. Suddenly, the squad wasn't just empowering. It was exclusive. It was intimidating. It was choosing sides. Critics began asking uncomfortable questions. Was this feminism, or was it Taylor's version of feminism? One that centered her experiences, her grievances, and her perspective above all else. Taylor's feminism, while impactful in moments like her court case and public advocacy, was also criticized for lacking intersectionality. The squad itself reflected that. Mostly thin, mostly white, mostly models. Even Lena Dunham, one of Taylor's closest feminist influences at the time, joked about feeling out of place. Allegedly, what was meant to flip high school dynamics ended up recreating them, and fans noticed. Taylor had built her career on being relatable, the girl next door who wore t-shirts instead of short skirts, the one who invited fans into her house. So when she started hanging out exclusively with people who looked unattainable, some fans felt left behind. Then came the backlash, the jokes about cults, the SNL sketches, the growing sense that the squad wasn't organic anymore. And once that narrative took hold, it was nearly impossible to shake. But the real collapse didn't come from think pieces. It came from reputation damage. When the Kim Kardashian and Kanye West controversy exploded, Taylor's image took its biggest hit ever. Suddenly, public opinion flipped. Snake emojis flooded her comments. And in moments like that, association becomes dangerous. Allegedly, this is when the squad quietly dissolved. Some members distanced themselves publicly, others did it silently. Zendaya liked tweets claiming she was never really friends with Taylor. Kendall Jenner allegedly chose family loyalty over squad loyalty. Karlie Kloss's friendship with Taylor cooled amid management conflicts, Katy Perry reconciliation rumors, and the infamous master sale. Even those who stayed loyal became more cautious. Selena Gomez later said she never felt like she fit in with celebrity friend groups at all, and that statement alone quietly dismantled the entire squad narrative. What once looked like unbreakable sisterhood now seemed fragile, conditional, and deeply tied to public perception. Over time, the phrase "girl squad" itself became something no one wanted to claim. Being labeled a squad member started to overshadow individual accomplishments. Cara Delevingne was more than Taylor's friend. Gigi Hadid was more than a plus one, and distancing themselves may have been less about drama and more about survival. And here's where things get even murkier, because some critics have speculated that the girl squad wasn't just a response to media pressure, but also a shield. Allegedly, surrounding herself with powerful, beautiful, famous women made Taylor untouchable in a way she'd never been before. If the media wanted to come for her, they now had to come for all of them. And that changes the dynamic. It's one thing to mock a single woman. It's another thing to mock a collective. But that strategy may have backfired, because once the squad existed, any criticism of Taylor was no longer just about Taylor. It was about optics, about privilege, about who was included and who wasn't. And suddenly, people weren't just asking whether Taylor was relatable. They were asking whether she was aspirational in a way that felt alienating. Allegedly, some insiders felt the pressure too. When friendships are constantly photographed, speculated on, and turned into symbols, there's very little room for normal human messiness, no off days. No private disagreements, no space to drift apart quietly. Every absence becomes suspicious. Every unfollow becomes a headline. So imagine being a member of that group and realizing that even your silence could be interpreted as betrayal. Would you stay, or would you slowly back away? Another question people still argue about is whether Taylor herself felt trapped by the image she created. Once the squad became synonymous with her brand, stepping away from it may have felt risky. If she stopped posting photos, would people say the friendships were fake? If she kept posting, would people say she was overexposed? Allegedly, this no-win situation contributed to her eventual withdrawal from public life during the snake emoji era, and when Taylor disappeared, the squad lost its center of gravity, because without Taylor actively curating the narrative, there was nothing holding the image together. Some fans also wonder whether the squad era unintentionally changed how Taylor views friendship altogether. After years of seeing her closest relationships turned into think pieces, jokes, and stan wars, it makes sense that she'd choose privacy over spectacle, especially now when anything she does becomes content within minutes. And maybe that's why the modern version of Taylor's friendships feels so different. There are no coordinated outfits, no themed parties turned into brand moments, no viral group entrances, just quiet dinners, birthday hugs caught accidentally by paparazzi, and friends who don't feel the need to prove anything online. Which brings us back to the biggest unanswered question of all. Was the girl squad a mistake? Or was it simply ahead of its time? Because in today's influencer-driven culture, curated friend groups are everywhere. But Taylor did it before the internet fully understood how to consume that kind of visibility, and she paid the price for being first. Today, Taylor still has close female friendships, but they exist differently, smaller, quieter, mostly offline, And maybe that's the lesson. The Girl Squad didn't end because of one feud, one controversy, or one bad headline. It ended because it became too big to control, because friendship, once turned into a brand, stops being safe, and because society still struggles to accept powerful women moving together without assuming competition, manipulation, or hidden motives. So the real question isn't whether Taylor's Girl Squad failed. It's whether it was ever allowed to succeed in the first place. Because if a group of famous men had done the same thing, history suggests they would have been celebrated, not scrutinized. And maybe that's the